My name is Emily, and I work as a corporate employee. Living with me is my husband of the same age, Michael, and our 5-year-old son, Ethan. Michael and I met at a group date organized by a friend. Impressed by his straightforward character and persistent courtship, I felt safe and decided to marry him. In our early days of marriage, Michael was proactive with household chores, and I felt deeply cared for. I sincerely believed marrying Michael was the right choice. However, the days of bliss were to crumble sooner than expected. 2 years into our marriage, we were blessed with a new life. Michael shared in my joy, and I was convinced our happiness would only multiply from there. But reality had a different script. As my belly grew, I noticed a cold shift in Michael's attitude. I didn't push the issue, thinking he might be feeling the pressure of impending fatherhood. I thought his perspective would change once he saw our child. Yet, when Ethan was born, Michael's attitude changed further, and not for the better. Despite my exhausted state after childbirth, desperately trying to care for our newborn, he offered no help. His annoyance with Ethan's night cries led him to sleeping in another room more often than not. I took a year-long parental leave and returned to work, but without Michael's help, the daily grind of childcare and work was draining me. Worse, Michael's return home got increasingly later. Being a full-timer myself, I wanted to share house chores and childcare responsibilities with him. But Michael seldom came home early, shattering my hopes. "I'm overwhelmed doing everything by myself. Can't you come home a bit earlier?" "I'm working long hours for Ethan's sake. If you're not happy, why not work shorter hours?" No matter how much I talked, he disregarded my pleas, suggesting that I should work less. If we could live on Michael's income alone, the story would be different. But that's not enough. That's why I resumed work just a year later. He didn't seem to understand that if my earnings reduced, so would our family's overall income. Moreover, I was always unhappy about Michael coming home drunk. "This is a part of my work, whining and dining with clients." Michael is self-employed. He actively participates in these drinking sessions as he has to establish relationships with clients on his own. Having never experienced self-employment, I questioned if these daily drinking sessions were really necessary. 5-year-old Ethan began to understand things a bit more and seemed frustrated by his father's frequent absences. "Why doesn't Daddy ever eat with us? Even on his days off, he just sleeps." I tried to pacify Ethan's growing resentment towards Michael by saying, "Daddy is working very hard for us outside. Let's support him." But no matter how I tried to soothe him, Ethan seemed unconvinced. Given Michael's daily routine, he rarely had time to play with Ethan, even on weekends as he often slept till noon. Instead, he would laze around in his room till evening and then head out for another drinking session. Ethan doesn't like it either. At least spend some time with him on your days off. "I'm working, aren't I? You're too naggy." Whenever I brought up his frequent nights out, he would just lash out. Doing my best to keep Ethan calm, our daily lives were filled with our quiet dinners together. Then I found out I'd have to go on a business trip on Saturday. Knowing Michael, he'd likely complain if he had to spend the day alone with Ethan. So, with some apprehension, I told him about the trip. "I have an overnight business trip next Saturday. I need you to spend the day with Ethan. Is that okay?" To my surprise, Michael seemed pleased. "Sure, I'll take the opportunity to visit my parents." His response was the opposite of what I had expected, and I was taken aback. Michael seemed happy as he called his parents. "They just sent an email suggesting we all take a trip, so we'll go together." A trip would surely make Ethan happy. It felt like a good opportunity to make up for not spending enough time with him. Michael had agreed to look after Ethan, so I felt relieved about going on my trip. And then the weekend arrived. Early in the morning, I left the house for my business trip. "Please give my regards to your parents." I know. Take care." Seeing Michael in such a good mood, I felt relieved. It was work, but it would also be a day to myself for the first time in a while. I was looking forward to spending my time off as I pleased. The destination for the business trip was about 2 hours away by train. Come to think of it, this is near Michael's parents' house. The familiar sight from the train window brought back memories. It's been a while since I last visited. I should drop by sometime. I remembered coming to the department store near the station with Ethan. He was only 3 at the time. After lunch, Ethan was fussing about wanting ice cream. He cried so much that I ended up buying it for him. In the end, he was so full that he could only take a small bite, and it brought a smile to my face. He probably asked for it because we rarely came to this place. I remember being startled by how loud he was crying. As I was reminiscing about Ethan and watching the department store, I heard a boy's voice. "I want ice cream." "But we just had lunch, didn't we? You can't eat any more." But I really want to eat it." The boy was saying the same thing Ethan used to say. When I looked in the direction of the voice, I saw a sight that left me stunned. Ethan? There was Ethan and my in-laws. For some reason, Michael wasn't there, but he said they were going on a trip. My heart started pounding. Maybe Michael was in the restroom. Maybe the trip had been canceled. My mind was racing with different thoughts, and I was in a complete panic. Not understanding what was happening, I decided to call Michael to confirm his whereabouts. "Hello? Where are you now?" "Eh?" We're at a hot spring with my parents." "I see. Right, of course." "Do your best on your business trip. Talk to you later." With that, he hung up. As I listened to the end of the call, I was left in utter disbelief. I had caught on to a big lie that Michael had spun. Convinced he was hiding something, I decided to dig into his actions in light of this incident. On Sunday evening, I made sure not to ask about how Michael and Ethan spent their day even after I came home. It was unnaturally quiet, Ethan not sharing anything about his weekend. Feeling a clear sense of unease, I resolved to gather evidence. The following day, Michael went to a social gathering after work as usual. He seemed heavily drunk that day, falling asleep on the living room couch as soon as he got home. Ugh, what a nuisance. I couldn't help but sigh at the sight of Michael more inebriated than usual. Doing housework while looking at a drunken Michael was not a pleasant experience. After finishing all the chores, and just as I was about to leave Michael on the couch and head to bed, his mobile phone chimed. Seeing it as an opportunity, I peeked at his mobile phone to find a message on display. I gently picked it up, careful not to wake Michael. With a mix of anticipation and dread, I checked the screen. "Thanks for today. Can't wait to see you again." The moment I saw that message, my suspicions turned into conviction. Touching the screen of Michael's mobile phone, it opened easily. Recklessly, he had not set a lock on it. With trembling hands, I went through all the message history. The content was unbelievable. It made me feel dizzy. Michael was hiding something unthinkable. The next weekend, Michael said he was taking our son to his parents' house again. "You didn't get a break last week, right? This week you can relax by yourself." I knew what Michael was planning, but it wasn't time to reveal that yet. Pretending to be ignorant, I thanked Michael. "That sounds great. Maybe I'll relax at home and watch a movie." Even I found it amusing how poor my acting was as I pretended to be happy. Michael, oblivious to my act, seemed overtly relieved that I would be staying home. "Both of you, take care." After seeing them off at the front door, I made a call to a certain place. "Hi, I was hoping to request your services today. Is that okay?" "Thank you." The first step of my plan was successful. But I couldn't relax just yet. I had to move on to the next step immediately. I decided to discreetly follow them. With a cliched disguise and a hat I had bought just for this day worn low over my eyes, I watched from a distance. Just as expected, Michael left Ethan at his parents' house and went off somewhere else. Since I had already anticipated Michael's next moves, all I needed now was to gather the evidence. As my gaze shifted towards Ethan, I saw a lonely expression on his face. Seeing that face pained me. I couldn't stand letting Michael make Ethan feel this way without some sort of payback. I turned away from my in-laws' house and followed Michael to a cafe, his rendezvous point. "Oh, there you are. Sorry for the wait." A young woman arrived. Arm in arm, Michael and the woman disappeared into a nearby hotel. Without hesitation, I snapped a picture. I never imagined I'd get such compelling evidence so easily. I felt deeply disappointed in Michael's foolish actions. After just a few minutes, I called Michael, figuring he just entered the room. "Hello? What are you up to?" "I'm at my parents' place. Why do you ask?" Michael responded, his voice obviously flustered. "I thought you could do some shopping on your way home." With my cheerful response, his voice brightened as if relieved. Oh, is that all? Sure, I can do the shopping, but my parents asked me to stay the night. I thought I might. Well, that's okay. I can do the shopping myself. Once again, Michael was planning to leave Ethan at his parents'. I felt a rush of anger, wondering whether he lacked awareness as a father. I worked hard to hide these emotions. I no longer had any feelings of love for Michael, who continued to lie. After hanging up the phone, I decided to pick up Ethan, who was likely feeling lonely. Hello, I've come to pick up Ethan. Arriving at my in-laws' place, they seemed puzzled. We thought Michael and you were both busy today. Is everything okay? I don't have any plans. They seemed even more confused when I responded. Mom, you wouldn't believe this. Dad said he would play with me, but he left me alone. This is the second time. I hate Dad. Hearing my voice, Ethan ran up to me, his face a mix of anger and sadness. I'm sorry, honey. Let's go home and play together. Yay! Let me get my things! After confirming Ethan had gone inside to collect his things, I revealed the truth to my in-laws. I have no idea what you're talking about. Simply put, Michael is cheating. I saw him entering a hotel. When I showed them the pictures, their faces turned pale. What? That guy? Michael has been going to a bar after work and is involved with a woman there. I've confirmed their message exchanges. Mom, I'm ready to go. Ethan's arrival cut our conversation short. I'll send the details via email. I don't want to discuss this in front of Ethan. Alright, we understand. Leaving them with that, I headed home. The woman Michael was cheating with was a bar staff named Olivia. I gathered this from their message exchanges. However, Olivia seemed to be unaware of the affair. Why? Because she believed Michael was single. Michael had hidden the fact that he had a wife and child. From their messages, it appeared Olivia contacted him for business purposes, but Michael was under the impression that spending money would escalate their relationship. Most likely, young Olivia was blinded by the money. Believing Michael was single, she repeatedly met him. I decided it was impossible to continue living with Michael. Before I started tailing him, I had explained the situation to my parents and asked them to help me move out today. They were furious at Michael and readily agreed to support me. Ethan, what do you think about us living at Grandma's place starting today? Sure, sounds good. Ethan was so engrossed in his game, I wasn't even sure he was listening to me. I realized I would have to explain things to him properly. Welcome back. What a rough day for you. We've moved your stuff into your room. Upon arriving at my parents' house, my in-laws welcomed us with warm smiles. Ethan, we made hamburgers for dinner. Yay! I love Grandma's hamburgers! Ethan seemed delighted at the prospect of his favorite food, which put my mind at ease. We used to visit my parents' house frequently, since it was close to our home. Ethan, being fond of his grandparents, didn't object to suddenly moving in. Our room was filled with countless boxes. Actually, ever since I realized Michael's infidelity, I had been gradually packing our belongings. Knowing that Michael was going to see Olivia that day, I hired movers to transport everything. Despite my initial apprehensions, the move was successful. I realized I would never return to that house again. As I was unpacking, I received a call from Michael. Emily, what's happening? He sounded panicked. Yes, what's the matter? So I got a call from my parents, and when I rushed to their house, Ethan wasn't there. It seems you might be under some misunderstanding. Oh, so it's a misunderstanding? Yes, it is. Even my parents are confused. They even scolded me. Interesting. Then, when I came home, all your and Ethan's stuff was gone. What's going on? It's exactly what it looks like. I can't live with you anymore. There's nothing more to discuss. Goodbye. I tried to maintain my composure as I hung up. It was too late for any explanations. Despite numerous attempts by Michael to contact me after that, I ignored him. Ethan, there's something we need to talk about. I knew I had to talk to Ethan properly about this. Daddy was friendly with another woman? You heard that? I knew that hearing this would be quite shocking for him. While I was trying to find the right words to comfort him, Ethan's reaction was surprisingly calm. I heard it. I don't want a dad like that. It's more fun being with Grandma and Grandpa. Ethan's feelings towards his father had already vanished. I consulted a lawyer about the next steps. Since I had substantial evidence, it seemed that pursuing a favorable divorce wouldn't be a problem. I had been obtaining evidence of the affair directly from Olivia. So, you're having an affair with my husband, aren't you? I'm sorry. He offered me money and But I didn't intend to have an affair. He said he wasn't married. I believe you. If you provide evidence of the affair, I won't claim compensation from you in the divorce proceedings. What will you do? All right, I'll tell you everything. Tearfully, Olivia spilled the beans. She must have been trying too hard to earn a living. Meeting customers outside the club was a breach of its rules. I promised Olivia that I wouldn't reveal her actions to the club, and in return she gave me information about Michael. Michael had been involved with Olivia for 5 years, starting when Ethan was born. The affair had lasted a long time, and thus the compensation amount in the divorce proceedings was significant. Afterward, I won a substantial settlement and child support in the divorce. As for Michael, he was abandoned by his family and the woman he had been smitten with stopped contacting him. Moreover, after paying the settlement, he was left penniless. His work was also negatively affected because news of his affair somehow leaked. He lost the trust of his favored clients and his income plummeted. He's now working multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. Whether worn out from his life of loss, he asked his parents-in-law for help, but they refused to hear him out, practically cutting ties. I hope he reflects on his actions and tries harder. Ethan and I decided to continue living at my parents' home. Ethan seemed more lively after we moved in, and we're able to live comfortably. He's still attending the same preschool, so the only change for Ethan was the house we're living in. I was relieved that he didn't seem particularly stressed. Seeing Ethan's happy smile, I became certain that deciding to divorce was the right choice.